Hey there. So this is Data on Trail coming at you now with my fourth video in my series of gear and literature reviews, also Christmas gift ideas for some folks. So in this one I'm going to cover maps, wall maps specifically. So I've shown these on a couple of other videos, but one really a good piece of equipment or literature that I have found very useful in both of the two national trail hikes I'm working on right now are these big wall maps. Now, some people buy these things and have them framed and they're keepsakes forever, and I may eventually do that, but I've purchased these two more to keep track of my progress on these multi-year section hikes or multi-year through hikes that I'm doing. So first, for the Appalachian Trail, I bought this long, thin one. It's not too expensive. Just mounted it on a piece of cardboard. Katahdin's up at the top. As I come down, you can see that I have a lot of hiking to do still. But at least I can keep track of where I have and haven't hiked. So for example, right there is where I fell down and busted up my lip last spring. And then there are some gaps and some other sections I've hiked. And because it's just a fairly inexpensive paper map, I can mark all over it and then I can plan for which sections I'm going to hike next spring. Like those two little sections right there. That's probably going to be the first two sets of hikes that I go on next spring in March, maybe even late February if I get brave and the weather is decent. And then I also bought the one that the Ice Age Trail Association puts out for the Ice Age Trail. Now, it's a much bigger map, even though the Ice Age Trail is half the length of the Appalachian Trail, but it does have a different depth of information so that segments on here that appear solid on this video are actual hiking trails, and sections that show up as dotted lines are things which are still road walks. And so this more detailed tracking map is helpful to me because sometimes I have to plan differently if I'm going to do section hikes. Like here's where I started at the top of that at Devil's Lake, and then I've hiked all the way down here most recently over to Storrs Lake's north parking lot. And you can see I have a fair amount of hiking that I can do that is going to be on trails coming up, but even in there's a big section walk right up there. Also at the Ice Age Trail tracking map, they have a little set of categories where you can list like the date and information. So everywhere I put a red cross mark here, that's a section that I have now completed. And I get to keep track of the whole thing so that I make sure I don't miss any segments, but I also have a steady reference point for myself about my progress in hiking the Ice Age Trail. So I think either of these two maps would be nice as a gift and a tracking map, even if you're the support member, family, spouse, whatever, who's following along at home. And I think most major trails have some kind of a tracking map like this that you can buy and just mount to a piece of cardboard and then keep track of where you or your hiking friend are at currently in their progress hiking the trails. I think buying these kind of tracking maps is especially useful for those of us who are doing multi-year through hikes or section hikes, depending on how you want to refer to those, just because it's a lot to keep track of all the different hikes that you've been on over a period of years.